tonight, and then I'll finally have 3 nights off, which I'm really needing.
As the pandemic progresses, we're discovering new ways to protect each other.
I don't want to show fear, because I want the residents to know that everything's going to be okay.
We made it! And finding different ways to cope with loss.
I think I'll look back and be like, I'm really glad I did that.
We're doing it all together, even though we're apart.
How long will we still be homebound?
At the end of the day, this will pass too.
This is COVID-19 in Georgia.
I'm Cheryl Preheim. Just today, the Georgia Department of Public Health reports 3,400 new cases of COVID-19. The number of deaths is trending back up. Hospitalizations are climbing. 11 Alive is dedicated to bringing you facts, not fear, when it comes to the coronavirus. And at a time when everything is constantly changing, Reveal investigator Rebecca Lindstrom is analyzing all of the data. She shows us where we stand in the battle against COVID-19.
When the governor eased restrictions at the end of April, the hope was that the warm summer months would ease our fears about the virus's return in the fall. Instead, July has brought a record number of COVID-19 cases and a new fight for life in our hospitals.
People are really wanting to go back to school. People are really wanting to go back to sports. People are really wanting to get back to normal. If we don't stop transmission of the virus, we're not going to get back to normal.
More than 131,000 people in Georgia have now tested positive for the virus. More than a third of those in the month of July alone. Certainly testing has increased this summer, but not at the same rate. And the age of those diagnosed has changed. These are the age groups, and the bars represent cases. Young people between the ages of 18 and 29 now represent the greatest share.
They're our most mobile members of society. They are also our risk takers, so they're more likely not to socially distance. The one thing that I want that age group to particularly know is they're not immune to the complications of COVID infection.
And those young adults, often asymptomatic, have already started to infect older people, many with risk factors like heart disease and diabetes, sending our loved ones to the hospital.
We just don't have the bed capacity to take care of the volume we're seeing.
On Thursday, Georgia Emergency Management reported more than 2,800 active patients. Now, it's not the highest number we've seen. In April, we had nearly 4,000 patients at one time. Doctors say only we, as a community, can prevent that from happening again.
You don't need to confront this virus. You can actually avoid it. It's not going to come up in a grocery to your house. It's going to come up because you're close to somebody who's infected.
The virus has shown no mercy to those working on the front line. More than 8,000 healthcare workers have been infected with the coronavirus. 58 have died. We have attacked hotspots for Latino and Hispanic families working in poultry plants and on farms. Health and economic disparities have increased hospitalization for Black people.
As much as everyone is doing right now, we need to do more.
Through it all, we have learned and learned together.
Multiple different ICUs, multiple doctors who never literally had met each other before are now texting each other and saying, I've seen this.
We've discovered the value of medications like remdesivir. Doctors are addressing blood clots sooner, using ventilators less and proning more.
It redistributes the weight of the lungs and it redistributes blood flow and can improve oxygenation.
There are more parades. The celebration is much for the medical staff as patients leave the ICU to finish their recovery. Still, the Department of Public Health says it verified 174 new COVID-19 related deaths this week. In Georgia, more than 3,000 have died in all. As you can see, the rate of death, along with all other indicators, is again trending up.
I know everyone's got COVID fatigue. I have COVID fatigue. So it's important, though, that we get up every day and realize that we still have to do our part.
Students across the metro will head back to class within a matter of weeks, but how they return to school depends on where you live and, in some cases, you as parents. Here's a breakdown of how districts plan to welcome students back to learning this fall amid the COVID-19 pandemic. It's a back-to-school season unlike any we've experienced before. Georgia school districts and parents making the tough choices about how to continue the education of their children during this time of coronavirus. In Gwinnett County, the state's largest school district has left the decision up to parents. Digital learning or return to campus for the first semester. Classes have been delayed to August 12th. Students, staff, and visitors will be required to wear face coverings. DeKalb County school leaders have said right now it's too dangerous to return to campuses. The county's new superintendent says they'll start remote learning August 17th, taking a look at their plans every month to reevaluate. Atlanta Public School students will return to an all-virtual learning format on the delayed date of August 24th. The district's new superintendent says families have two options: enrolling students in the Atlanta Virtual Academy, taught by its teachers, or sticking with virtual learning from your home school. This option gives the flexibility to return to in-person classes if or when that happens. APS says it won't consider a return to traditional schooling until cases of COVID-19 hit what they call a moderate or minimal spread, and masks will be required in all buildings.
The city has moved back to stage 1 of their recovery process in light of the COVID-19 trajectory, and Fulton County has pulled back to stage 1 of recovery as well. We have to pull back and do what's in the best interest of our students and our staff.
Fulton County Schools has announced its students will return to a universal remote learning environment on August 17th. The district plans to continue releasing new details to parents. Cobb County Schools has moved away from an earlier announced plan to allow in-person learning and will now have fully remote learning for students instead. That removes the choice parents previously had between the two options. The superintendent says public health guidance doesn't make that possible. There's no timeline set for how long virtual learning will be in place, but the district plans to monitor the data to return to traditional classrooms as soon as possible. In Clayton County, all students will start the year receiving virtual instruction. The start date has been pushed back to August 10th. And parents within Forsyth County schools were also able to choose between traditional in-person learning and remote learning from home. Classes will begin August 6th with guidelines for those learning on campus, like hand washing breaks, staying home when sick, students isolating in their classrooms, and all desks facing the same direction. A variety of choices and options as students and teachers gear up for an unprecedented fall return to class. We have a full list with more details on how Metro Atlanta districts plan to return to class this fall. You can find it right now on 11alive.com or inside our 11 Alive News app.
In the midst of this crisis, many frontline medical workers have been forced to make the heartbreaking decision to live apart from their families. It is just another step healthcare professionals are taking to keep us all safe. Savannah Levins takes us inside their sacrifice.
15-month-old Zehra always runs to greet Dad after work, but never like this.
For me, coming up and seeing her running up, I was just trying to keep it together, to be honest.
Sam Shikali, an emergency physician, made the heartbreaking decision to separate from his family during this time to protect them from COVID-19.
I'm just one of many who are going through this.
The soldiers in this fight, doctors, nurses, paramedics, first responders, are answering the call of duty. It means tearful goodbyes to their babies. It means forgoing family dinners and warm embraces and goodnight kisses. It means celebrating milestone birthdays through a screen.
We had a virtual birthday party. It was really hard for a lot of reasons. With our 1-year-old, that we couldn't do the first one and couldn't do anything really much of for him. It was hard.
Every hello, every I miss you, every I love you.
Hi.
Distorted through a speaker.
Evil kisses. You've been doing a lot of FaceTiming, or even driving by the house and them waving out the window. I can't take the risk of bringing this disease home to them.
Hotel chains like Hilton and Marriott are pledging millions of free rooms to first responders. Airbnb committing to house 100,000.
We needed to find some place for him to stay, and he's been bumping from call rooms to hotel rooms. It's nice that we have an option now.
Pop-up groups like RVs for MDs are connecting people who have mobile homes with medical staff.
I feel like I'm called to do this, and I do take pride in it, but
in a world fallen ill, these moms, dads, daughters, sons answer the call. So you don't have to say goodbye to the people you love.
He does ask every day when I can come home, so that brings tears to my eyes.
And although every mile apart might feel like an ocean, a homecoming on the horizon in a safer, healthier world is something worth fighting for.
Long lines and then a wait. Why getting a COVID test is still a struggle, and the extra challenges scientists are now finding in the results.
Even when schools are closed, we're still hard at work because vulnerable students who already struggle with poverty, hunger, and trauma need our support more than ever. At communities and schools, we do whatever it takes, delivering meals, helping kids access remote
Four months after COVID cases started soaring, testing troubles still plague parts of Georgia. We're hearing about locations running out of tests or viewers frustrated waiting for up to 2 weeks to get an appointment. Testing has definitely ramped up in the past month, with twice as many test results reported each of the past 2 weeks than at the end of May. In the past week, more than 85,000 test results were recorded. Reveal investigator Brendan Keefe uncovers the challenges in getting a test and exposes problems with some results.
Sean Smith has COVID-19, and Sean Smith doesn't have COVID-19.
How could I have been positive and negative in the same day?
Smith has an underlying condition and needs surgery. Before the scheduled operation, Atlanta's Piedmont Hospital required a test for COVID-19.
Kind of got some bad news for you, and I was like, okay, we have to cancel your surgery. You tested positive for COVID.
After the positive result from the 8:15 a.m. test on May 2nd, Sean wanted another opinion. He went to the drive-up testing center at Georgia Tech run by CVS. At 12:08 p.m. that same day, CVS said his COVID-19 test came back negative.
Positive and negative 4 hours apart from each other.
Worse than getting no test at all is getting a test and getting an incorrect result.
Right now I'm sitting here worrying about, hey, you know, am I at the beginning phases of COVID or am I at the ending phase of COVID? Then there's a possibility that, hey, I may not even have COVID, you know?
The FDA has issued 48 emergency use authorizations for commercial COVID tests. With thousands dying every day, there was simply no time for the intensive review the agency normally conducts to validate safety and accuracy before approval. We don't know what kind of test Piedmont used for Sean's positive result, but CVS uses the Abbott machine that returns results in minutes. All of these diagnostic tests are molecular, which means they detect the COVID-19 infection by looking for the unique genetic fingerprint of the virus. We don't know which of Sean's tests was wrong, because all lab tests are susceptible to some degree of false positive and false negative results. The Piedmont lab report warns negative results do not preclude SARS-CoV-2 infection, while Abbott's emergency use authorization requires the company to track adverse events, including any false results, and report them back to the FDA. Abbott told us we continue to collect accuracy data in the field. We've got to get more tests more quickly, but then we also have to make sure they're accurate.
Exactly. We saw in other countries, in Spain in particular, they had to pull some tests back because they were giving bad results.
Dylan George is an infectious disease expert who helped run the White House response to the 2014-15 Ebola outbreak. What would be the concern with false negative from a public health standpoint?
The concern of a false positive is that you're using resources that could be used for another individual. So the PPE, potentially the ventilators, et cetera, that would be the concern about having a false positive. For me, the concern of false negatives is perhaps even more, because then you would have an individual that actually is infected out in the community and having the assurance from a test that they didn't, and they're interacting with individuals as if they are not infected.
We have allowed people to think that they were negative and sent them out into the streets and said, hey, you're okay. And they're not really okay. And they're going out into the community and living their regular life and spreading the virus.
Having that assurance and not thinking that they're infected could lead to more spread in the community. So those false negatives are very concerning in terms of spread throughout the community.
COVID-19 pulled the spotlight away from celebrities and professional athletes and suddenly left us focusing on a new set of heroes, our frontline workers. Never before have we been so grateful for those who stock our shelves, pick up the garbage, and deliver the mail. Truckers are among the key workers helping us stay stocked up. Christy Diaz takes us inside their sacrifice and struggles during the pandemic.
If you can look behind me, there's my bed.
You want to talk about someone with a desperate need for toilet paper?
Over there in the corner with the orange thing, that's my porta potty.
Talk to a trucker.
We're oversized. We can't always park where there's a bathroom.
Steph Tatum drives heavy haul. He's the oversized load that needs several lanes to get by. He says one of the biggest frustrations is trying to find food, with many restaurants shut down.
It's just aggravating because you can only eat so many Subway sandwiches in 1 week.
There's not many places that we can park 63 feet of vehicle.
You also don't fit in a drive-through.
Absolutely not.
Danita Beasley was on a route from Pennsylvania to Georgia when we spoke.
We've been nonstop all week.
She mostly hauls pharmaceuticals and produce.
Have you had to do extra shifts or extra runs since that's been so in demand lately?
Yeah, I've seen an increase of trucks on the highway. I've talked to people, they've come out of retirement to get back on the road to kind of help out.
In March, the president waived the hourly restrictions for truck drivers, allowing for longer routes and quicker transport of emergency goods.
We work 14-hour days sometimes.
Barbara Floyd is a local driver. She makes a lot of deliveries to Publix.
How does it feel to be an essential worker at this time?
Well, I feel like I finally have a job that has a meaning because I'm needed now.
Even though they're the ones hauling the products, empty shelves are affecting them too. All three keep supplies with them, but sold out items like rubbing alcohol are affecting their safety.
I would normally use it, putting in my brake system in my truck to keep them from freezing up.
How many times have you gone looking for it and found an empty shelf?
Every time I've gone.
But they say they'll keep on trucking because they know what happens if they stop.
Understand that when we stop rolling, everything stops. Your gas, your food, your clothing, everything.
Celebrations are changing from car parades to virtual events. See the new ways we're marking major milestones and one incredible tribute.
Boys and Girls Clubs has always been about coming together. But we're going through a challenging time right now. And while we may not all be able to come together in the same physical ways, in other ways, we're coming together like never before. Providing a safe place to go for children whose parents are on the front lines battling the virus. Providing meals for kids whose schools or meal programs are now shut down.
WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who
COVID is changing the way we celebrate life's major milestones. Birthday parties are now parades, weddings happen via Zoom, and graduations were either delayed or canceled altogether. But as Hope Ford shows us that even when a pandemic keeps us apart, love can still bring us together.
Bright lights, revved engines. This isn't a car show. It's a high school graduation.
We made it! 2020!
Kel High and Marietta hosted a drive-through commencement. Each student socially distanced in their cars, their names called one by one. Not every student was originally on board with the idea.
I thought it was kind of stupid.
That's an honest reaction.
Now that we're getting our plans in action, I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Perhaps that honesty is something Hannah Binkley got from her best friend, Kaylee Nesty.
She was just all around a very great person, the most honest, very, very honest person ever.
She was. You see, Kaylee isn't here. She's not in one of these cars. Kaylee, like all the students here tonight, missed graduation, missed prom, but will also miss out on the rest of her life.
She was a motorhead. She loved anything to do with cars. She had a 350Z that she actually passed away in.
Kaylee died in a car crash in January.
There was nothing like losing a best friend.
Since Kaylee loved cars, Savage Riders, a car club, helped Hannah, Kaylee's mom Diane, and Kaylee's sister Shannon pull out all the stops. But instead of one car, they surprised the family with over a dozen decked out muscle cars.
Created these letters that spell out her name, so we have enough cars where we can put a letter on each of them and they're lighted up.
Dealing with grief and a quarantine, this display allowed them to put their pain in the back seat for a moment.
She's probably looking down on us saying, "You did it. Yeah, I approve."
I think I'll look back and be like, I'm really glad I did that.
We all might be waiting for everything to get back to normal once COVID-19 is over. But what does over even mean? And will things ever be normal again? We asked historians, and a futurist offers their take on how our lives might look by taking a look at the past.
We do think about what it's like when societies turn on a dime. This is an historic moment suddenly, and we're historians. I am professor of history.
I teach history of American law.
I'm Doug Noonan. I'm a professor of public and environmental affairs.
I'm a professor at the University of Toronto.
I am a quantitative futurist. My job is simply about making connections so that we can confront uncertainty head on.
The history of our country and the history of peoples throughout the world is that you absorb.
People think we'll Zoom forever, or that school will be remote forever.
Usually these communities bounce back, and they bounce back to remarkably similar form to what they were before.
Look at 9/11. We got Homeland Security and TSA, but not that much changed.
We're always looking up over the next horizon. We're forward-looking people.
What followed the 1918 pandemic? The Roaring 20s. It was like a big party on steroids.
There were efforts to improve public health. The Depression created an effort to build a social safety net. You just do see societies reknitting themselves.
This kind of shock is, I think, likely to accelerate changes that were actually already happening.
There will be more emphasis on using technology. There will be changes in how office buildings are set up. The gig economy will be reviewed, and the idea of, does it make sense?
Often there's a sort of a fusion of cultural expression and art. There's these wonderful sort of artistic symphonies that are all performing in their little Zoom boxes. Art's gonna art, right?
At the end of the day, this will pass too. And I think we'll rebound.
We're in a slippery situation right now. And we cannot collectively slam our foot on the brakes. We have to be willing to steer into the slide.
Vanishing jobs and promised help hard to find. How Georgia's economic woes overwhelm the system, and the key unemployment advice straight from the Labor Department.
A message for children. By staying home,
you're protecting other people from getting sick. By calling someone you love stuck indoors, you're giving them a smile, and they need it. By being brave.
Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
COVID-19 goes well beyond our healthcare system being taxed. Here's a stunning fact. Georgia paid 3 times more unemployment claims last week than all of 2019. The state's unemployment rate now sits at 9.7%. And while it seems like things are getting better and people are returning to work, many who lost their jobs are still waiting to receive unemployment. Reveal investigator Andy Parati shows us the cost of COVID-19 on the job market.
It's been tough. It's been a lot of calling the Department of Labor.
Ryan Steinbach estimates he spent more than 100 hours on the phone trying to reach someone at the Georgia Department of Labor to get his unemployment benefits.
I try early morning. I try lunch, pre-lunch time, post-lunch time.
The 27-year-old Decatur sound technician filed for unemployment in early April after the movie and TV industry stopped production due to the pandemic.
It definitely is frustrating and scary. And, I don't come from a lot of money, so I'm used to, money being tight, but now it just feels like the hole's just getting deeper.
Steinbach is one of 2.4 million Georgians who have filed for unemployment since March. While the state has paid $6.1 billion in benefits so far, 11 Alive has learned many are still waiting to receive money or even a callback from the state. Alan Sherman is one of them.
Every time I called, I kept getting sort of attitude with people.
He and 8 others waiting for benefits recently joined me on a Zoom call. All are part of a Facebook group called Georgia Unemployment Issues COVID-19, which has nearly 10,000 members.
And financially, how are you doing right now?
Holding on by a thread.
From Stacy, a single parent in Lithonia.
We're asking for some type of help.
To Leslie in Savannah.
For us, it's really been nothing more than a real frustration.
We sent a recording of the meeting to Kersha Cartwright, a spokesperson for Georgia DOL.
Those individuals that were on your Zoom call were very frustrated, and I certainly understand that.
Cartwright says the cause of most delays involve verifying identities.
Can we see the Social Security card? Can we see the driver's license? Can we make sure that those numbers align? And that's what has caused a lot of the delay.
The morning we spoke with the Department of Labor, Steinbach received his unemployment benefits nearly 3 months after he first filed.
People are scared. We don't know when the end of this is in sight, and we were worried about having a roof over our heads and being hungry.
The state admits it wished it would have created more online tutorials early on to help people resolve issues on their own, but it did not anticipate the wave of unemployment filing so quickly. The state also says that it is important to spend the time to verify identities to prevent fraud. It is currently investigating about $1.5 million in potential fraud charges. The state's biggest piece of advice: keep calling.
The financial toll of COVID-19 is undeniable, but there is also the physical toll of the virus. No population is more impacted than older Americans. During the first 3 months of the pandemic, 16% of cases and 47% of deaths were directly linked to long-term care facilities. Christy Diaz takes us inside one facility doing everything they can to protect their residents.
It's a tough job on a normal day, but a pandemic only makes it harder.
Everyone is getting restless. The residents want to get out, and families want to come in.
More than 80 people live at Orchard at Brookhaven. That number split between assisted living and memory care.
Every day we take their temperatures and check on them.
This is one of the communities that dealt with an outbreak of COVID-19.
It was scary because it happened early on.
Luckily, that resident recovered at the hospital and after testing negative twice, is back in her apartment with no outbreaks since. And the community has been strict to keep it that way. Here's one of the supervisors, Teresa Bowens.
There were some moments where I was like, I don't know what's going on, but we just kind of keep going with it. And I don't want to show fear, because I want the residents to know that everything's going to be okay.
At one point, the community locked down completely. The staff slept on site.
We slept over, you brought clothing for a couple of days, and we just slept in shifts.
The National Guard came in at night to help clean.
Most of them were asleep, and they cleaned all the common areas.
When caring for those living with dementia, there are also other challenges, like meal times. Not everyone can safely eat in their own apartment in isolation. So now there's blue painter's tape on the floor to help staff keep people at least 6 feet apart. And now the Community Relations Director, Ginger King, is sewing fabric masks and testing one out with a clear insert to help with communication.
It's hard for them to hear and understand what we're saying because they count on looking at our face and our mouth and our expressions.
And since they can't bring in outside vendors for activities and music, they've started their own band called the Rotten Apples. And since families can't visit, they're showing extra love to the people inside.
It's like all of us have 1,000 grandparents now that we're loving on. We do the best we can, and we stay smiling and we stay upbeat for them because we're not going to let this beat us.
Now, more than ever, we're depending on our doctors and nurses to fight off an unpredictable virus. In March, New York City became the epicenter of the pandemic, in desperate need of help with overflowing ICUs. Georgia nurse Samantha Sandstone answered that call, spending 8 weeks on the front lines of the battle. Matt Pearl follows her journey and the lessons learned from start to finish.
Okay, it is 5 days until I go off to New York to fight the COVID-19 crisis. This is my dog Cooper. I'll be leaving him and my fiance Brendan behind.
I work in the pediatric ICU at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and I love it. We're so short-staffed. I was only working 2 days a week, and I thought, God gave me all of these skills. I hate just sitting down at home and not putting them to use.
I'm gonna miss you guys. I'm so confused. Why are there luggage around?
Everything she does is very selfless, and so it doesn't surprise me at the same time, but of course it kind of scares me.
And I was actually talking with my patient's mom who also had COVID. She said her brain felt like mashed potatoes is how she described it. You're just in agony. So yes, I'm very afraid of that happening to me.
Today is, Monday, the 20th, and I will be flying out tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. So I'm excited and I'm scared. So it's midnight. I finally sat down. I got put on a med-surg unit and I have 5 COVID patients. We had one patient that was not mine, coded.
They were about to intubate the patient and he did not make it. And yeah, that was on my first shift, and I just thought the rest of my shifts were gonna be like this. The body rolled by on the stretcher to go to the morgue, and you just think like, that's just joining all the other bodies down there. They don't have enough room in our morgue. It's not normal. All these people are dying alone and dying without, you know, a hand to hold. I contacted my uncle the other day because he owns a car dealership, and he said I can lend you a car. He said, okay, a driver will be here tomorrow at 2 o'clock. It's my 2 cousins in the front seat, and my uncle comes around the corner. I drop to the floor crying. I love you guys. Because after like 5 days of, you know, seeing all this bad stuff, they were there, and oh, sorry. They were there.
Can we give a hug?
Finally, my uncle's like, can we just hug you? And I was like, yeah, screw it, hug me.
Oh, I love you guys so much.
So good to see you.
I definitely feel like I'm where I need to be.
So we just got to discharge a patient home, and everybody clapped for her. There's just a little bit of happiness in all of this. It's pretty cool to see positive in all this darkness.
This job is a lot more mentally draining. We don't know 100% what can cure this or fix this, which is hard because I want to instantly fix it and make them feel better right away, and I can't do that. So it's definitely straining. I clicked on the link. This is Samantha Sandstone. She works for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, but decided to go up to New York for 2 months to volunteer at a hospital against the fight of COVID-19. Let's give her some hometown love. Wow, 5.3K plus people. I don't even know that many people in the world. Oh gosh. My heart is like palpitating. But that is really, really cool. Wow.
So I have 1 more week until I get to go home. So that's 4 more shifts. I am packing up the last of my stuff.
I'm the last traveler on the unit who has been there since day 1. All the people that's their home unit, they're taking this time off because they were working so hard before we got there. I kind of feel selfish. Like I get to go home to my family and my life. Some of these people were totally fine until they weren't. Some of these people were in great health. I think we should probably be more careful than we're being, but at the same time, people are wanting their sanity back and wanting to have social events back because that's what makes us human. Every day I FaceTime Brendan and we talk about how we can't wait to see how Cooper reacts when I'm home. Even when I leave for like 4 hours, he freaks out. I miss them both so much, and this was a very hard 2 months because of that.
Home at last. I'm back with my dad.
I'm so happy. Hey, dude.
At the end of the day, although I'm so happy to be home, I'm also so grateful that I was able to have this experience and to feel like I impacted the world and people's lives, as well as them impacting mine.
There's a huge mental and emotional toll tied to all of this uncertainty. How some are stepping up to serve and the ways you can get help to manage it all.
Remodeling a shower or
disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97.
Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on...
Safe in the wake of COVID-19 is stressful for some, debilitating for others. That's why the state of Georgia launched a mental health hotline to help those struggling to cope. It's free, confidential, and staffed around the clock. Reveal investigator Rebecca Lindstrom explains how answering these calls have striking similarities to a different type of service.
19 and full of youthful courage, David Kendrick entered the Army. In 2006, he landed in Iraq.
When I got shot by a sniper, it was just a regular day. In the blink of an eye, I just heard a split-second crack of a rifle and my entire life was changed.
The sniper shot Kendrick in both legs. It took 14 surgeries and more than a year of therapy to physically recover. But the fear stays with him.
My PTSD, it stems from not knowing who that person actually was and wondering if they're still out there.
Kendrick says COVID-19 is for some the same kind of enemy.
It's an invisible enemy and we can't see it, we can't touch it.
That's why several days a week he sits in his apartment armed with a new weapon, his phone.
Georgia COVID-19 Emotional Support Line, this is David speaking. How may I help you?
Kendrick says the details of each call varies, but the themes remain the same. Isolation, fear, helplessness. Like the woman unable to travel to New York after her mother died suddenly.
She was just distraught and heartbroken because it happened so fast. She can't do things like grieve with the other family members that are in New York. She can't help plan the funeral.
While some people worry about returning to work, wondering if their employer is doing enough to protect them, one caller never got the option to stay home.
She has a job cleaning banks. She stated that she had on 2 pairs of gloves and one of her fingernails, it poked through and she immediately freaked out and she left. You know, she took a shower, washed her hands, but she stated ever since that day, she was worried about, am I infected now? Did I touch anything? Is it in my car?
Then there is the isolation of social distancing, an even deeper struggle for those dependent on support meetings like Alcoholics Anonymous.
He just needed somebody to talk to, and I let him know that I was here for him. I gave him as much time as he needed, and he wanted to call in and read some poetry to me because it puts his mind at ease when he reads it.
Kendrick says what he wants to offer is hope, like so many did for him when he needed it most.
Letting these people know that everything is going to be okay. But the most important thing that we offer is knowledge, information, and hope.
Trained professionals are taking calls on the state's COVID emotional support hotline at 866-399-8938. Volunteers are available to talk every day from 8 in the morning until 11 at night.
In these hard times, we all need creative outlets. Some people are jumping on the bread baking bandwagon. Others have taken up tie-dye or harnessing a green thumb in the garden. Yet others find their passion on the pavement. Some of the best stress relief right outside our doors.
There are no limits when imagination is your transport. Climb a mountain, walk the yellow brick road, catch a huge fish, or swing from your favorite tree. Every day is a new adventure for the Tucker family in Suwanee.
Hi, everybody.
Biggest sister of 4 girls, Aspen, started the creations.
I thought it'd be fun to do it since we have nothing else to do.
Then Mom, Abby, got inspired to help.
I have a ladder to really make it look real. The dinosaur. The dinosaur. It has been a very different change of pace, and it's been wonderful. I think my girls are closer for it.
And 3-year-old Charlotte always happy to play along.
I like Elsa. She likes Elsa.
Teaching the girls about the simplicity of time together.
But definitely a lot more family time, a little bit slower.
And the complexity of what is happening around them.
During these times, because they're so very different than we've ever experienced.
A message for all. Be grateful.
You know, especially all the doctors and healthcare workers out there. Definitely want to show our appreciation.
Be hopeful.
We are just praying for America.
Be stronger together.
In the midst of so much sadness, they are the hope. How hospital heroes going above and beyond in our time of need.
This selenite gray is so pretty, isn't it?
Wow. Jim, could you pop the hood for us?
There she is.
Turbocharge, right?
Yes, it is.
Jim, could...
The people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97.
Are you doing this to help people, or are you doing this to make money, or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11.
Are leading the fight against coronavirus, but hospitals are filled with unheralded heroes also helping. They lift us up in moments of question and help us hold together when we're falling apart. These are the unseen faces truly making a difference.
When you say healthcare worker, that's not somebody that works just in the medical field. The carpenters, the environmental services, security, I mean, the list just goes on and on. My name is Jeff Rohde, and I'm a multimedia specialist at Holy Name Medical Center.
And I don't know how you're all feeling about this. My name is Brian Quinn, and I've been doing this chaplaincy work for 34 years at Medical City, Dallas. But what you do is very close to the heart of God.
My name is Mike Hodges, and I'm the Director of Public Safety at Piedmont Athens Regional. A hospital Pre-COVID is a very open and welcoming place, and we like it that way. We want families to come and go.
I think that early on, we didn't understand just how big this would grow. The beds would just fill up. It was tough to see. It was tough to see that how many patients were coming in. I don't know if I ever really thought about if I had to document patients and document our staff here at the hospital. I think I wanted to. There were a couple moments when nurses were going to enter a room with a COVID positive patient. They would take a moment before going into the room.
We're in this together. We're in it together. The burden for me, for hospital staff, has been this thing called compassion fatigue. When you go home at nights and you feel you have nothing left to give and you start to question why, trying to remind the staff that they need to take care of themselves, because an unbalanced wheel will wear out the quickest.
Most people, they probably look at hospital public safety and think, you have a picture of a security guard sitting on a bench somewhere watching the crowd go by. You're dealing with the full range of human emotions in a hospital. To be able to enter into someone's worst day and someone's worst moment and help de-escalate and calm. If there's an issue in a room, the officer's going to go in as well and be there in that environment. You know, that weighs on individuals.
One of the nurses was called over to a patient who was on oxygen and he was unconscious and he had taken a turn for the worst. The nurses were just holding his hand and talking to him. I saw some of the most compassionate care that I've ever seen. And it was with somebody that could potentially get them sick. You'd have doctors and nurses calling in on their days off. They would come in on the day off to do a clap out. How dedicated medical workers are. It's like a different type of person.
Working 12 hours in a COVID unit, the stress, the tension, the fears, the feelings, and to see their courage and compassion in light of the storm has been quite remarkable.
Right now, things have slowed down quite a bit. We're in single digits with COVID patients. And what I've been doing is following the rehabilitation of patients at home. They couldn't even talk when the tube was taken out. So it's great to see after so many weeks of seeing a lot of sickness.
You certainly know about the nurses that put themselves in harm's way, or the physicians coming in and out. We're all in this together, which can be kind of a hokey phrase at this point, but it's true. What's been caused me to be so proud is just seeing that complete lack of hesitation, that commitment to the role that the job that they have.
I confess to you, it's a choice that as caregivers and as chaplains, we have to choose every day. We have to choose hope. We may have been called in the night before to work a death, but we have to choose that day, hope, because hope is an amazing thing. I couldn't do this if I didn't have the hope that there is always something better to come.
I can't speak highly enough to all medical professionals that went to work to help patients through this. Everybody just pulled it together and supported each other and made it work.
They are more than just a number. They're survivors. Meet the people who face COVID and hear their advice for all of us.
Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their
live COVID-19, so their stories are hard to tell. But hundreds of thousands of people have recovered from the deadly virus. We talked with dozens who've made it through and asked, what do they want us to know about the virus?
We represent people that have a story to tell. My name is David Jameson.
My name is Amanda Trejo.
Marissa Liuzzi.
Scott Schuback.
And I am a recovered COVID-19 patient.
I was a patient in an intensive care unit.
I've just recovered.
Out of the 12, there was about 8 of us that were affected.
I'm still having issues. I'm still having issues sleeping, still having issues with anxiety.
When I walk up the stairs from the parking lot to the entrance and I'm carrying a briefcase or some papers, I have to slow down.
We've been just really trying to just stay away from everyone and only leaving the house to give plasma.
My aunt was positive for COVID-19 and was admitted to the ICU. I went and donated my plasma. Within about the next 11 days, she was able to come off the ventilator.
Everything that we can do to possibly help save a life is something that people need to start really looking into.
I truly believe that maybe I got COVID-19 so I could save not only my aunt, but a stranger as well.
This situation has taught me that we should never, ever take anything for granted.
For whatever reason I'm here, it is upon me to become a better person. As a physician, a father, a husband, that is upon me to become better.
I think this is a trying time.
We have a happy ending, fortunately for us.
It would be a waste for a person to go through something and not inspire someone else who's going through the same thing.
For all of us here at 11 Alive, thank you for joining us tonight. You can find the latest information anytime on 11alive.com.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97.
Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every
COVID-19, we're all homebound. How long will we still be homebound?
Our everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.